Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I'll be doing the mid-pricer madness forward edition, probably one of the almost better times to release this given that the chaos has happened in the last week or so in the forward line with, I mean Fisher was only about a week or so ago, 10 days ago. You had McRae as well, and pretty sure there was another guy that went down in the forward line that was pretty much key for us. Or it was probably Baker also having Baker and Dusty Martin having their roles almost slightly reversed a little bit from what we expected, which has changed sort of the whole mid-pricer top line bracket. And some guys that I said were probably not going to be value in like McDonald have actually turned out to be now probably some of the more valuable options, as it looks like his role should get a little bit better, but we'll wait and see on that one. We'll go through that, I guess, in the video today. But before we get into the video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into the video. So we ended off the premiums around about this Taylor Adams sort of range, and Joe Danaher was the first sort of non-premium guy that I was going to say. I think I even went into Myers Caldwell a little bit, but Danaher, premium forward, early buy, no real improvement there. No, thank you. Graham Myers, I don't really see there being much improvement there. I think he's just going to be that half forward guy. I don't even know if I was looking before here just to correlate with my my Angus Sheldrick sort of research. But with the sort of, who are we looking for here? We're looking for Graham Myers. If we look down here, we see he had 2% CBAs. 2 CBAs, 0% across the whole season. There is no CBA time, and I don't really see much upside for Graham Myers, to be honest with you. Caldwell, another interesting one, had a lot of CBAs, and there's one that is sort of stopping Sardis from being a mainstay in a lot of people's sides, is this Caldwell, Perkins, Hobbs sort of third midfielder, and who's going to take that role. You can see we're talking about Caldwell here. He had 33%. He had games where he had full-time mid, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If we look at Caldwell himself, and you'll see here, nope, I don't want that, I want that. Here we go. If we look at the high CBA games here, and all around here, above say 40%, you will see that he averages 85, it looks like, and he also has a pretty good game. If you look at above 30% as well, it looks like he does. That's an injury game as well. Then we have 0-0. Then we have this one as well. That was a high CBA game, and that's pretty much it. But in the 11 games, he had over 30%. He was an 84. He's currently priced at a 75. So I don't think there's much upside, but I think he could be potentially an 86, 87, an 85 or sort of guy. If he does get that perfect role, that sort of 50% CBAs, which could just be a guy that we get in post all of the sort of, because I think a lot of people will do this. I think a lot of people go for the 450k guys and just ride them up to these sort of 80, 85, because the 80, 85 guys aren't going to really lose you a lot. They're not going to blow you away, to be honest, because they're mostly around their mark, whereas you can get a lot of value in the lower guys of the mid prices and sort of just jump on the 85 guys when around about the time that they max out their prices. You'll figure out the top 6 to 8 forwards, and I think that is the best way we go with this forward line. Now, thinking about it, so Caldwell is definitely one that we could look at when he sort of settles out, and we understand that Essendon midfield, because it's almost as it's one of the midfields. There's a lot of midfields that are really undecided because we have a lot of those second, third year midfielders running through them. And it's finding who's that third, fourth, and sort of midfield. You've got the Cats up midfield is really unknown. You got the Essendon midfield, which is sort of really unknown, and the Swans midfield mix, and that's really unknown as well as I guess Hawthorn in a sense as well, with Will Day out. So there's 4 or 5 midfields across the 18 team comp, and you could even put into that the West Coast midfield with Jimby, and when Stewart comes back because he's injured, which we'll get to. There's sort of 5 or 6 teams that are so unknown in the midfield rotation that it'll be tough to figure out. So yeah, Caldwell, I think it's just one that we grab on when when we know the top 6 to 8, if he is in the top 6 to 8, rather than jump on him, because there is a chance that he just goes 75 and is a dud pick. Whereas Adams, who is my F1 at the moment, is a top of the line guy and has proven that he can score top of the line. Just a couple of seasons ago, he was, and if he gets that 50 to 60% CBA role, which we expect, he will go a lot higher than Caldwell, and is only 13k more expensive. Hill, I just don't like he's sort of a utility man, wing, half back. Has he gotten any CBAs in recent times? If we go back here, I don't think he's gotten any CBAs for St Kilda. If we look at it, Hill is not anywhere close to here, which is good to see that he's not getting CBAs. But yeah, he's just been floated around utility everywhere, and that's why I think his price is reflected at 75. Rankin, I don't think is going to be the midfielder in Adelaide to go, and add Adelaide to that list as well. Where you got Laird, Crouch, Dawson, and then you got Rochelle, Pedler, Rankin, a couple others, I believe, as well, that are in their main team, Soligo as well. So you have a massive, who's going to be that fourth and fifth midfielder in that rotation, and I don't think it's going to be Rankin, and that's why I wouldn't be picking him. Ainsworth, early buy, no thank you. Waterman is so interrupted, I believe. Is it Waterman that's interrupted? But yeah, I wouldn't be picking him. Jesse Hogan, key forward, no thank you, especially on the early buy. Michito, Owens, just wouldn't be picking him because I don't think he gets that necessarily that big role jump. I think he's more of an impact player, and so I don't think it's this year that he will jump out as the midfield rotation for St Kilda is a lot more set in Steele, Crouch, and who's the third one? You got Steele, Crouch, Ross, and Hunter, Clark, Sinclair. Windhager's going to take that role probably over Michito Owens, to be honest, as Michito Owens was only used. He was actually used as a blatant midfielder here. But yeah, so he's had a couple games, but not really as much. And I think Windhager's the one that's going to take... Sorry, that's Windhager there. Owens is only really taking the... Owens is the pack-up ruck. And is only really taking the non-ruck time. The only time he was in there as a midfielder was this round 21 against Carlton and this round 23. He started to see sometime, but I reckon it will be Windhager that takes that role, as Sinclair will give up his minutes to Windhager, his CBAs. So there's that. Gresham, I just don't know if I see him getting any midfield time in that Essendon midfield. We talked about it with Caldwell. I don't know what their midfield is going to look like, to be honest with you, so it's a wait and watch in pre-season. Langford is sort of a third tall, so I wouldn't be going after him. Neil Bullen has the early buy, don't really see any role change. Finlayson, tall, no real role change. Zach Bailey could get that midfield time because of Ashcroft, but I think it's going to go to McCluggage. And I also think Jasper Fletcher is a better chance of getting it than him, so I wouldn't be picking Zach Bailey alongside the fact he needs to go 2.5, 3 better because of his early buy. Charlie Dixon, basically the same reason as Finlayson. Jack Lukosius, love him in the sort of half forward sort of wingish role because he gets a lot of those just easy marks. But I think he's going to be more of a target up forward, to be honest with you. If we look at Lukosius here, if I look at it, I believe he spent one game down back as well, I believe. Else he's just getting a lot of marks in that sort of half forward space. But if we look at Lukosius here, how do you spell it? Let's actually just quickly check again. It's with a K. There we go. There we go. Got it finally. And you see here with his heat map, you can see that he's had a couple of games with kickouts, and you see that's where he sort of gets his, it's not actually destined that he gets that better score, but you can just see some of the games where he really gets a little bit, it's actually had a good game here, a couple of good games here without a sort of deep forward role. So if we actually look at it here, where is his big mark game? It's here. This game here, where did he get all his marks? He actually got him in that sort of corner there, all his touches. Was another game where he had a high mark game. These two games here, you'll see that he gets his touches around that high half forward, and then also this one here. Again, sort of on the wingish type of role, leading up, and sort of that high half forward role. I just don't think he really has much upside, to be honest, with a role change. So I'm not looking at him, to be honest, for for anything in fantasy related this year. Mitch Lewis, key forward, no thank you. We'll probably get an improvement, but I think that just that improvement that we're talking goal-wise for him is just going to be more games. Rochelle is an interesting one, and is probably one to watch in the practice matches, because he could easily replace Connor McDonald, as we need to see. As he said, I believe he's going to hopefully split 50-50 forward and defence. Sorry, not forward and defence, forward and midfield, sorry. That is a major difference. And I don't know whether that means 50% CBAs, or given that his time on ground is roughly, I believe, 80% or so, I want to say. 76% time on ground. Does that mean he gets like 38% CBAs, or does that mean that he gets 50% CBAs? Slight difference, but I think he could definitely be a guy to watch. And so he is definitely on the radar alongside Connor McDonald, who I think could be one that breaks out. He's had such good fantasy scoring in the juniors, and he was up there with like Nick Dacos, and he's a proper ball hog, and it seems like he's got himself into even better shape. So I'd rather go for him, given that he had such a good back end to the year. And if we look at McDonald, I don't know if he's had any any like vested games or anything. Yeah, he had 2 vested games as well in the season. So if we look at 1, 2, 3, if we look at this anyway, because I didn't look at this when I actually initially did the review on McDonald in the Hawks preseason preview. I didn't look too much into McDonald, but if you look at that, he's got take out this game here. If you look at that, he's got a little bit of upside based on the sub games. He's 70.7 with the sub games included, and 73 without the sub. He won't be the sub, I don't think. He's actually got crazy time on crazy game in this in itself. 73 with the without the sub games. So yeah, really looking at that and thinking he could make an impact here. And 73 is a little bit of upside anyway, and I really like the sort of role that he was sort of getting at the back end of the year, pushing a little bit further up the ground, a little bit more into the midfield, as you can see sort of with this. When I'm looking at that, you can sort of see with this red marker here, how this red mark here goes to nothingness in this sort of last 6 weeks, which means that he's got more of a wing role, and he averages 79 in that sort of wing role. Back pocket, that was a horrific game against Gold Coast, just looking at that. So he does have a pretty bad floor in a 39 as well as a 41 and a 50, which if he can improve on that and get that to sort of a 65, 70, there is going to be some upside there, which I think he can do. And there is talk that he could get potentially the permanent wing role, which a permanent wing role he could go, given his the way he plays, I think he could do better than a lot of the like Henry Sharp and the Chapman. I think he could go sort of that 80 in that wing role, which would almost be sort of top 12. But I think he could go even if he gets the CBAs, like we've been hearing a little bit about. Like you can see the CBAs here against West Coast. I think he could go in and push that sort of 85 range, which is almost top 6. But I'm not really looking for a top 6 guy at the moment out of the forwards. I'm just looking for value, and I think he presents the best value at that 600 sort of K range alongside Josh Riccelli, which is a guy that I might also turn to as well. Harms is just well overpriced at this point. He's going to get a better role now that he's at the Dogs. But just well overpriced. Brent Daniels, no thank you. Early buy, yes, he might have a better role this year. But early buy, I'd rather jump on him after the buy, as he won't be too inflated. And so there's that. Liam Baker was supposed to be about 4 days ago, sort of almost pure midfielder, but has been training up forward, so there's a little bit of watch there. But if he goes bang in the first in round 0 and sort of gets that big score, then I think you have to jump on him, and then you can jump off up to, because he will probably ride himself up to like a McRae, you probably don't want at this point or start with, but you can get him up to a Caleb Daniels, or maybe even get him up to like a Flanders or something like that. Lipinski, I don't think there's too much of a role change there. Harry Mackay is a key forward. Cripps, I think, is just getting on. Zach Fisher is injured. Just a watch on him. He does have the best role of this whole forward line, but he's just injured at the moment, so we'll see. Perkins, his role, like we said, with Caldwell and with, was it Hobbs? Someone else in that Essendon midfield. We don't know who's going to get that fourth midfielder or even third midfielder. I think Hobbs will be the third one, so I think it's a battle for that fourth midfielder between Caldwell, Perkins, Sardis, and someone else as well. Norton's a key forward. Jamie Elliott has been training down back, but I think that's just match sim. You sort of just want some guys. I think he's just got a good distribution, so I think they were just using him down back to sort of set up some match sim situations, etc. Tom Papley, I actually wouldn't be surprised if his midfield time goes down, because I suspect they may try and introduce Angus Sheldrick to play the role that Papley was in the midfield, and that will decrease, that will just get Angus Sheldrick developing, but it'll also decrease Papley's time in the midfield. So I think Papley's not necessarily going to be the one that I'd look at. McLean is a key forward. And that's just inflated from ruck time. Membry just can't get on the park. Zerha, no thank you. Oscar Allen, key forward, no thank you. Cam Rayner hasn't really exploded, and I don't expect him to get midfield clock, so I don't expect him to really do anything. Bedford, with the early buy, I don't think he's got too much upside in him, and we haven't seen a direct role change. Higgins, no thank you either. Charlie Cameron is just, I don't think we'll see a role change, and has early buy that he'd need to go on top of that. Silvani injured. Swiskowski, no thank you. Pickett could see some time in the midfield, which could increase his role and better scoring output, but does have that early buy to negotiate, so has to increase his output by 2 to 3 to cover that, and I don't think he will anyway. Fritsch, no thank you, is a key forward. Tom Hawkins getting on in age. Will Hayward could have a better season, could go 70, but not really going to have an impact. Not really the upside that you're looking at. Lockie Murphy, no thank you. Tom Lynch can barely get on the park and is a key forward anyway. Cottrell, I don't really see much of a role change there, to be honest. Stringer is going to tear a hamstring. Sam Powell-Pepper, don't really see a role change either. Same with Curtis Taylor by Burn Jones. Noel Cumberland, another guy that if he gets on the park, he's had a lot of sub games, but he's a small forward. He's not really going to impact anything. Jack Graham has been training a little bit in the midfield with the Richmond match sims, but obviously you need to watch out because that is six midfielders, and basically two of them are probably going to get like 20% CBAs out of that 6. So that's probably going to be what Jack Graham is, and that will be probably a 70 or a 65 to be honest. O'Halloran is a forward. Not really getting much midfield time. Don't see a change. Luke Bruce, no. There's no one here really. I'm just going to quickly float through them here. Billings could be back to his best. He could be an 80 guy, but I'd rather watch and wait to see if he is an 80s guy, as I don't think he's really going to get away from you too much. And his price at 60, so there's 20 points of upside. I reckon you might as well just go with a guy like a Cam McKenzie, a Sardis, etc. that will potentially go plus 25 or something like that. And it's a lot easier and a lot more worthwhile to go for the guys that are cheaper. Mason Cox, no. Going through here, no. There's no one here that I'm really looking at. Luke Pedler, like we said with Rankin, I don't think they will be. I think Pedler could be one that actually, if you had to rate the forwards from Adelaide, in Pedler, Rankin, and Rochelle, I'd go Rochelle number 1, Pedler number 2, and Rankin number 3. I do that because I think Rochelle is the better inside mid out of all 3, and that's why he's number 1. I put Pedler number 2 just because he is cheaper than the likes of Rankin, and I do think that even though I do think Rankin is a better like inside mid sort of player than Pedler, but being a lot cheaper, even though it's like 10 points or something, 8 points, it does help a lot in there's less of a jump needed. So that's why I'd have Pedler number 2, but I'd be wanting Rochelle first if I was to want anyone from that Adelaide forward line that is going to get midfield time. Peter Wright is key forward. There's no one here really. Tom Powell's an interesting one, but he'd need a massive role change, and I think it's going to be LDU, Wardlaw, Phillips. Let me just check the CBAs for North Melbourne game because I forget who their guys are. I even think Harry Sheasel is going to get a little bit of time in that midfield for North Melbourne. So we look at North Melbourne. LDU will be number 1. Wardlaw number 2. Will Phillips probably number 3. Simpkin number 4. And then probably Tom Powell, Lazaro, and then you get all the other guys, even Harry Sheasel as well, getting a little bit of midfield time. So that's sort of the range that I see it. Cully, no, thank you. He's injured. No. Sam Wicks is a forward. No. There's no one here really that I'm looking at. Don't really like any of these guys. Fife, I think he's too much of a gamble with injuries, etc. to go there. So basically, the only reason I go there is if there was no one in the 470 range that is available. Basically, is the only reason I go there. And I might even prefer someone like a Alex Sexton, who's been training off halfback, over the like to Fife. So yeah, there's that. But Fife, if he gets that, what would it be? 4th midfielder role, he could do some damage and go 75-80, which would be enough of a reason to pick him. But there's so much of a chance that he just plays 25% CBAs or something like that. But from what we're hearing, it is positive news about Fife. So he's one just to wait and watch what happens in preseason, and then potentially select him if no other 470 forwards pop up. Emmett, no, there's no one here. There's even all of injuries here. Absolutely no one here that I like. And then you get down to Sardis, and Sardis is one that he's in my side at the moment. He's currently sort of a placeholder. Even you got McCreary, who's apparently training as a midfielder. But Sardis is one that apparently really put on some muscle in the sort of over the off season. Yes, they're working on his kicking, which still needs a little bit of work, but kicking doesn't matter for fantasy. So if he can just rack up the pill like he's been doing basically all throughout his juniors and then also his seniors, if we look at the CBAs for Essendon, you will see, and then I can go over to Sardis himself. If we go over here to Sardis, you will see, if we go down here to his sort of juniors, you will see that he really does rack it up. 103, and that includes a 33. If we take that 33 out, it's up to 115. And then we clear that and we go through his VFL stats. You'll see his VFL is also pretty promising, to be honest, as well. His VFL is also a 91, and he's priced at roughly a 52. Roughly a 50. He's priced at 52.8 or 52.7, so he could easily go 75 if he gets the right role. But it's just all a matter of, can he get that 4th midfielder spot at Essendon or not? McCreary training a little bit in the midfield, but I think it'll be sort of like a Tom Papley type of midfielder, to be honest, so I'm not really looking at him. And also, I'd rather Finn McRae at this point over Bo McCreary. Tracy Philippou, no. Philippou, even though he's had some midfield time in the past, I don't really like him too much. I mean, he did rack it up in the juniors, I am led to believe. It's that. There we go. Let me just go to his junior stats. If we look at this in the Sandful, here we go, and he's played a lot of. Let me actually look at his 2022 stats, not his 2021 stats. His 2022, you can just see this in these games here. Let's just see. Here we go. In those games, he averaged 123 in 8 games at the Sandful under 18s. Which is just really good numbers. Just needs to get that midfield time. It's as simple as that. So Philippou just needs to get that midfield time, and I don't think he necessarily will this year. He's one that I'm looking at next year potentially. He will probably still have forward stats next year, and I think a 3rd-year breakout for him is what the sort of path that he's on. And just looking down here, there's still basically no one here. Looking down at no one really. Joel Jeffrey been training down back, I'm led to believe, and Bailey Humphrey as well. 2 guys again from the Gold Coast that we're looking at. Don't know their role, but the roles that they've been training in look promising. So there's that. But just ones to watch. I think Bailey Humphrey is the one that could break out, just because we've seen him do it. I believe, where was it that he did it? If we look at Bailey Humphrey here, I know he had a really good juniors. Yeah, you can see this 165 in the NAB. In 2022, you'll see, if we just quickly scroll through that, in 2022, he averaged a clean 111 games in the NAB league. What's that, under 18s or whatever. So yeah, absolutely massive. If you take out the 165, he still averages 93 in 10 games. So yeah, he is one with a low of 67. So yeah, he's one that, if he does get the role, will be good. Obviously had this really weird start to his campaign, I guess, or his AFL debut. If you go from here onwards, it actually doesn't look too bad for Bailey Humphrey. only this 11 that was really weird, that if you wanted to necessarily take it out, this 11, it goes up to 59 that he sort of averages. So yeah, one that I'm certainly just keeping an eye on. Priced at 51.3, I believe. So yeah, definitely one to look out for. And if he gets on the park, he could easily be a 56 to 60, 65 if he gets the roll type of guy. So not necessarily the biggest upside there, but one to just watch in round 0. Anyone else here? No. James Jordan, wing roll. We've talked about him massively on basically every other thing. He will be best 22. I'm very, very confident he will kick McInerney to the curb basically on that wing, get that wing roll, and I think McInerney 74 is sort of a guide of what he'll do, and I think he has potential upside of at least what he'll do. I think he'll at least do a 74. I think there is potential that he goes, if he gets the CBAs, he could potentially do 80, 85, which is massive upside at 50. Pickett, no one here, no, absolutely no one. Cam McKenzie, another guy, 439k, average 49. If we look at his stats on DFS as well, McKenzie, you'll see that he racked up the pill in juniors, and I believe also the VFL as well. If we look at the VFL stats here, it doesn't really bode too well for him. I mean, 93 and 8 games in the VFL, and he's had so many sub games. You can see that was a really weird game as well. But when he does get on the park here for the AFL, he does do pretty well here. You can see 56 in 10 games. He's priced at 48, I'm led to believe. So that's already 8 points of upside there if he just doesn't have the sub. And then you can see his NAB league where he sort of dominates, but obviously won't get the perfect role. But yeah, 2022 NAB league, he averaged 86. So you can see that there is upside there if he gets the right role. But whether he gets that 20 to 30% CBAs, or whether it's McDonald, or whether it's someone else like a Ward or something, that'll be something we're going to have to figure out. Scott, Peatling, Amos, all these are basically key forwards. And Hewitt, a guy that we were probably looking at, injured, so no thank you. And is that pretty much it? We're down into the 400s. And there is no one here that I'm actually basically looking at all and thinking. Sexton, we talked about, could get that role as a half-back, distributing half-back, but I think it's going to be Budrick before him and maybe even Yulin before him. So one to just watch there and see. Definitely off of round 0 scores. And then Devon Robinson, I believe, is also injured as well, or is just coming back into it. Combin training at down back, but I think he's more a... and has had some kickouts, but I think he's just going to be a key defender there and not really impact. And that's basically down into the rookie price. You've got McRae, who's just basically a rookie there. So anyway, that is the video there of the mid prices, 27 minutes, so not bad. But yeah, so we do have quite a few guys there that we went through, and a lot of it is just... It's not necessarily with these mid prices, especially in the forward line. It's not necessary that we need them to have that 60% CBA, that third midfielder. It's, can they snag that 20 to 30% CBAs, have or maybe a wing roll or something like that, and have 20 to 30 points of upside through that, and be a 70 to 80s guy, sort of like we talked about. Jordan, Sardis, McKenzie, who else there as well? There's even Fife as well is in that conversation, as well as, let me just keep on scrolling up. Baker as well potentially could go and be that top 6 guy. You got McDonald, you got Rochelle, and etc. So even Isaac Rankin and Taylor Adams, we hope we get that massive. Is one of those guys that we actually need to get that next sort of. All these forwards, it's all about, can they get another 30% CBAs basically, or a better wing role rather than the small forward role, is basically what we're thinking. And that is basically the major premise behind a lot of these guys, is we find value because they're going to get 20 to 30% more CBAs than last year, or they're going to get a wing role, which is just 20 to 30 points upside on their small forward role. But anyway, that is the video, and I'll see you guys in the ruck video coming out tomorrow. Bye, guys.